good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I've come down to a local pond. As you can see, it's quite mysterious. There's a lot of bird chatter going on, but because of all the heavy rain that we've had, the pond's pretty high up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a wee wander round. I spoke to the farmer, so I've got permission to be in here, and he's asked me just to stay in this area just because further down in the fields they've got a lot of young birds. So this could be really interesting this morning. We've got lots of reflections, we've got a lot of fallen trees, got a lot of greenery, got a lot of bird noises, so I don't know if we'll see any birds. So join me and let's see where this journey takes us. Alright, so I tell you, see when you stand here and it's really quiet and you get all the noises, you could just imagine at Halloween this could be the creepiest place in the world. What I'm doing here is I think I have a composition, so I've got this tree with all the moss on it sticking out. It's pretty chaotic, but the branches have got quite a nice light on them. And then what I've done is I've put a circular polarizer on to take a wee bit of the reflections out of the bottom of the water, although I don't want to lose them all. But I've got a log in front of me. So if I show you what I've got here. So what I have here is I've got these trees that are coming out and sticking out and towards me. Then we've got all the leaves in the water. We've got this tree trunk that's lying in the ground, the foreground, and I'll use that as a bit of a leading line. So that gives me, from a compositional point of view, I've got the trees which could be a wee bit chaotic, but I think we're having that tree trunk in the bottom of the frame might help with the composition. And I've zoomed in so that I've got a closer crop with only that and the trees in the background. Now, when you look round, there's so much. It's easy to get lost in what it is you're looking for, so don't be afraid to zoom in and then zoom out and then zoom halfway in, just to see if you can make that image look a wee bit different and just to give you ideas. So what I'll do is I'll take 2 or 3 different images here, and then when I've finished, I'll share those images with you now. So you'll see there's a fallen tree here that's got some, I think it's raspberry bushes round about it. But what I'm trying to do is use some of the roots here as a kind of frame. I don't know if it's actually going to work. It would be nice to try and get some shots of these raspberries if I possibly can. But it means I need to rest the camera on the tree trunk. But what I'll do is I'll give that a try, because I've been experimenting recently with really low level shots and I really like them. So I'm going to see if these work, and if any of these work out, I'll share them with you now. So I finished that location. I might come back to it actually, because as the light changes, there's so much here. But what I want to do is go to that wee jetty and then see if I can walk across, because there seems to be a wee island area over here. And you never know, there might be other points of interest as I walk along. So I'll get across this jetty and let's see what we've got. Oh, there's a lot of wee mushrooms. Yeah, it's very boggy. As you can see, the base, the grass, it's not grass, it's moss. So, and I can feel myself sinking, a bit spongy. So what I'll do is I'm just going to scout around this little island area and I'll see what we can find. What I've got in front of me here is, I've seen these branches sticking out of the water, and it's quite still. So I've got quite a nice reflection in the water, and then we've got all that busyness in the background with the trees. So what my plan is to do is to use a kind of f5.6 just to try and isolate the trees and then blur out the background, because I don't need the trees in the background to be in focus, because my main focal point are those branches sticking out the water. And I suspect there might be more of those images today. Anyway, let me take these images and then I'll share these images with you now. Tiny frogs on this wee island area, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move over because I found quite a nice reflection shot. I'll just share it with you. I'll show you where my camera is. So I'm kind of through there, so I'm just weaving my way through these trees. There we go. If I set this camera up here, I'll have a better chance. Alright, so I think this is a bit of the banking or an old upturned tree, but what I have here is I've got this reflection that I'm looking for, and I've got those nice yellows of the bushes, and then we've got these rich reflections, and I really hope these turn out with the greenery of the tree. So what I'll do is I'm going to take 2 or 3 different shots. I might only do 2 or 3 shots actually, so what I might do is just a wide shot, and then I'll zoom in and then get a zoom shot, and whatever images I take I'll share them with you now. Stand here, you know, if I turn the camera around and you look at the kind of, it's like a swamp area. It does give you that feel of deliverance. Remember that movie? I've just managed to find a cool wee composition. See that tree? That lone tree there. And as I'm standing here, it's got all quiet, and then I heard a lot of pitter patter, pitter patter. And it's the rain. Not that this place is creeping me out, by the way. It's just, ever since I said it was a bit like Deliverance, there's so many things going in my head because there's so many things rising in the water. Luckily we're not in America and there's no alligators or crocodiles in there. Well, I hope not. Right, let me try and get set up. Let me see if I can get some shots of this wee tree, and let's see if we can do it any justice. If I can, I'll share these images with you now. So I'll tell you what I'm finding here is that I'm using quite a shallow depth of field, so I'm using anywhere between f2.8, I'm just moving into the side of the pond here, f2.8 to f5.6, especially if I'm focusing on a subject, because I want to try and isolate it, just because everything in the background is really, really busy with all the fallen trees. I mean, look, if I turn this camera around, you get compositions like those foxgloves just lying loose, and then you've got all the busyness of the woods in the background. But my focus just now is the pond, and then once I've kind of circled the pond, I'll maybe venture into the woods. But let's see what more we can find in the pond, because the pond's nice and still just now, and there might be more reflection shots we can get. Right, so here's one example where I've got what might look like a nice composition to the eye, and what I've done is I've set it up so if I do a 16:9 crop, I can take the top and the bottom off, and I can have the roots, and the roots have got a leading line through to the bushes, and it's just a collapsed tree in the water. But the bit that struck my eye was the colours of the leaves, so you've got browns and yellows and greens there. And the sun came out a minute ago and lit it up a little bit, but I'm still shooting at f2.8 because I am trying to get a wee bit darkness in here. I'm trying to see if I can get some bit of depth. I want as kind of faster shutter speed as I possibly can, because every now and again there's a wee breeze comes through and it starts to move the branches, so I don't really want to get caught out with that. But I'm going to persevere with the wider depth of field this morning until I get a wider view, and then I'll go up to F8 or F11 and just get the detail, because I suspect from that location there I'll get quite a nice wide view of the lake, the pond. So I'll take 1 or 2 shots, there won't be that much more, and if any of these turn out, if they're decent, I'll share them with you. Alright, so here's an example, a classic example of what I was talking about, the wider vista. So if I turn this on, what we've got is we've got this tree trunk in the foreground, then we've got the layer of shadows in the middle ground, so there's not too much space between the tree trunk and the background because we've got the shadow filling it, the reflection filling it. Then we've got the tree line in the background. So the best way for me to take this shot is I'll use F11. I'll probably go pretty dark, so probably go down to maybe 1/100th of a second just to freeze as much as I can. And then what I'll do is I'll do 5 bracket exposure images, and then that way I'll get an underexposed shot right through to an overexposed shot, and then I can blend those in post-processing, because that looks quite a nice scene. There's a lot of dapples on the water as well, and the reflections are really nice. So hopefully that turns out. If it does, here's that image now. Before I leave this area, what I did see was this little rock here. This tree trunk, but the branch has actually split and it's fallen through the centre of that tree trunk, and I thought that might be quite nice. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to look for a composition where I'm using the kind of rule of thirds. So that's why I've got the tree trunk on the bottom right hand side, and it gives me all that space. And if you can imagine that grid intersecting, then that trunk intersects on the bottom far right of the rule of thirds. So it's 1/100th of a second, f5.6, ISO 100. If it turns out, I will share that image with you now. So I'm kind of leaving the pond a bit now. I feel a wee spit in the air. If I turn round, you'll see, there's the rain starting. Right, that's fine. Rain doesn't bother us, well, for now. So what I'll do is I'll keep looking, I'll keep walking through the forest, because it's a shame that it's raining, because I was hoping the sun might have put some nice light spots in some of the trees and gave us quite a nice backlit composition, but hey, you never know. So I'm going to keep following the edge of the pond, because if I turn round, you'll see there's some pockets through the grass, and if you can hear, the rain's getting heavier. It wasn't forecast to rain, but hey ho. Right, let me catch up when I find something else. Right, so I found a cool tree here. What I was going to do was I was heading to the pond so that I could film all the raindrops hitting the water. But then I saw this tree and I thought, oh, that's quite nice because it's quite luminous. So if I turn this camera on, you'll get to see what I mean. So we've got all these ferns in the bottom, and then the tree just leans up, but you've got this broken off branch just suspended here on the left hand side. And I just thought that made quite a nice composition. And then if I turn the camera around, there's another composition where you've got the tree kind of going left, then you've got the bottom trunk that's snapped off, or a branch further up is sitting pointing right, and it's kind of got an overhanging tree on it. So I have a few dilemmas here in the sense of what would make the best composition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a couple of portrait shots. I'm then going to try a couple of landscape shots in the hope that these do turn out. And if they do turn out, I will share these images with you now. So this tree's been amazing. So I've taken, while I was standing there taking shots, I had another shot where I used the tree and then the overarching tree as a frame into the water. And I'm using the same principle here where, if I just quickly show you what I can see, I've got the tree going up, I've then got this tree dangling, and then I'm using that as an archway to go through to the water. And oh, it's really, really nice. And I really hope that it's like a really yellow, luminous moss that's on that tree. And I'm using a polarizer because of the reflections in the water. But I'm hoping that when I process these photos that these don't get over exaggerated. If they do, I'll tone them back. But honestly, the vibrance of the yellows and the greens of the moss and the trees, it's like a highlight pen. It's pretty impressive. Anyway, I'll have another couple of wee looks around and then I'll catch up soon and I'll share these images with you. Four tree stumps that are sticking out the water up there that have got some really cool reflections, and then you've got all the greenery and the reflections surrounding them, and it's really, really still. Well, it is at the moment until this breeze comes in. So I'm going to take a couple of shots there and I'm going to change the composition, move the stumps to the right, move the stumps to the left, maybe do a square crop with the stumps in the middle. Well, I'll tell you what, if I do a right hand composition, I'll do a left-hand composition, I'll do a centre square composition. Maybe you could leave a comment and let me know which one you prefer. And then what I'll do is there's a bank of trees straight in front of me that are framed by two other bigger trees. I don't know if that'll work, but I'll try it. If I do, I'll share these images with you now. Alright, so as I walk deeper into the forest, I've spotted there's a fallen tree that's really aged, so that might make quite a nice composition. So I've taken a couple of shots where I've got a wide shot and I've used these two trees as a frame, and then I've zoomed into the bark because the bark's that kind of really dry, woody texture. And then the other thing that caught my eye was the base of these two trees. So I'm going to take a couple of shots with the bases. I'm going to use f2.8 and blow it out the background, and then I'll shoot at the furthest away tree and make the foreground out of focus. And if those images turn out, I'll share them with you now. Alright, so I think I'll end the video here. This cloud's getting darker and starting to get more and more spots of rain. So one thing I forgot to mention. In a couple of videos back, you might have seen that I was away at Ardnamurchan and I didn't have my drone. So I put my drone to DJI and they confirmed that the gimbal and the wires were broken, and then they sent me a price and I sent them the money to pay for it. The following day, immediately, I got a brand new drone sent to me. So I have to say, absolute first class service from DJI, because I was 2 weeks out my warranty period as well. So first class service for DJI. Thank you so much. I've tried the drone this morning, so hopefully that footage has turned out. Anyway, here's hoping we can make a video out of this. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.